Nationals fans, are you feeling a little hungover after last night's walk-off loss to the Miami Marlins? Yes, I am as well. But don't overlook this one thing. Let me tell you what exactly that is right after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Clary, and I have taken my fandom and my passion for this team into podcast form here with the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day. And of course, last night, the Nationals had a tough loss that we're going to get into here first, but also later in the show, I'm going to tell you about one really positive thing about this Nationals team. It's in one particular player who has been really just killing the ball in general. And also it's starting to really consider the fact that this guy could be a legit contender down the road to have a prominent position for the Washington Nationals and their next postseason team. But also later in the show, it's a Mackenzie Gore start tonight against the Miami Marlins to redeem ourselves from last night's loss. So speaking of last night's loss, let's get into it. As last night, Jorge Soler hit a walk-off home run while Hunter Harvey kind of blew up there in that ninth inning. Kyle Finnegan has been the closer throughout the season, and going into this year, that was the expectation. Some people thought that Hunter Harvey or maybe even Mason Thompson would be the ones to fill that role eventually down the line. Hunter Harvey seems to have closed that gap. And even after last night, Hunter Harvey is my closer. Not just the closer of this team, the closer for this team down the line. Not just in 2023, not just in 2024. I want him to be here all the way through 2027 when that contract expires with the Nationals. Because Hunter Harvey has proved himself, in my opinion, multiple times over now. This is someone who is a free agent after the 2026 season with the Washington Nationals. Hunter Harvey is a first-round pick back in 2013 from the Baltimore Orioles. This is someone who has been in high-leverage situations in the past with the Orioles and with the Nationals last year, as down the line, especially in the second half of that season. You saw him get plenty of opportunities in spots to where some people, including myself, even was like, should we be giving this young guy a shot who hasn't really proven himself up to this point in the major leagues? Well, he proved himself last year, going into this year, and obviously this year he's been our best bullpen arm by far. Kyle Finnegan is someone who I expected coming into this year to really take the closer spot and run with it. I've always liked Kyle Finnegan's stuff. I've always felt that it's a trustworthy appearance when he comes in. But up to this point in 2023, he has proven us wrong, or proven me wrong. I'm not going to speak for you and whatever you may think about Kyle Finnegan, because I know there's a lot of mixed opinions out there, as there should be. This guy has had an amplitude of opportunities to lock up the closer spot. He seemed to be getting better in the second half of last year, but obviously that wasn't the case. This year he's blown up. It hasn't been good. He's been giving up a ton of hits. And honestly, what it reminds me of is Rafael Soriano back with the Nationals in the mid-2010s rather. Rafael Soriano could never make it easy. That is what I'm seeing with Kyle Finnegan. So that is why Hunter Harvey has to be the closer going forward, even after last night's loss. Even after giving up multiple hits and then leading the surcharge for the Marlins by getting multiple 2 strikes with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and you give up that game-losing home run to Jorge Soler. It's tough. It's baseball. That's the whole gist of this. But Hunter Harvey is still going to be my closer down the line. I am not losing confidence in anything in what he has done so far for the Nationals in particular. Because as we said, 3 straight batters with 2 strikes on them, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. He just couldn't get the job done. I mean, guess what? We shouldn't be losing our minds over that. Because Garrett Cooper, while it may not seem to everybody, Garrett Cooper is a big league hitter. This is someone who has had a track record of success. He gets on. Then guess what? Luis Arias, who nobody can get out. He leads the MLB in batting average. He's done it plenty of times over. He is a flat-out hitter who reminds me of Daniel Murphy playing that second base position. Luis Arias scores Garrett Cooper on a single. And then it brings up Jorge Soler, who ended it all with a walk-off home run. And Jorge Soler is someone who, back with the Atlanta Braves in 2021, winning World Series MVP. By the way, that home run he hit in Game 6 of the World Series, it just landed right now a couple years later. Jorge Soler is someone that you should not be pitching to in any sort of situation. Jorge Soler is someone to where when he is up there, you have to have the accountability, the notoriety to not pitch to him, to not give him anything to hit. He has one job and one job only, to hit the ball 500 feet. And that is what he did last night against Hunter Harvey. So the pitch selection issues with Harvey, with young guys like him, this is where you see the mistakes. And this is where ultimately you will see the biggest mistakes and problems for this Nationals team and this bullpen so far in 2023. It's situations like last night in the 9th inning to where Davey Martinez puts in a Hunter Harvey, which, by the way, was the correct decision to do. And it just simple mistakes of leaving a ball over the plate and Jorge Soler taking advantage of it and taking it 500 feet to left field. Listen, it's not just the Nationals. The Marlins are a decent team. They've been rebuilding for a decade now. They should be decent, right? Jorge Soler is one of those pieces to where he's not really part of the next generation of the Marlins, but certainly he is a guy who, as I said, has one job and one job only, and that is to hit home runs. And that is what he did last night. A power bat like him, you have to stay away from those guys. You cannot put yourself in danger of putting a ball 500 feet over the left field fence there, especially at Lone Depot Park to where the ball seems to fly there. But other than that, the Nationals did come back. There were positives to be taken care of in this game because you got another homer from Lane Thomas to make it 2-1 back in the 6th inning. And Lane Thomas has kind of been an unsung hero of this Washington Nationals team. He doesn't get a ton of credit. But then also Jeimer Candelario ties it, scoring Luis Garcia on a nice little single to the right fielder. Jeimer Candelario is someone who has been ice cold as of recent. To get a big hit like that, it is something toward to get the momentum back going. Because Candelario was someone who was leading our team in OPS at one point. But so far in May, as I talked about on Monday for the National Stock Report, he has been ice cold in this month. So hopefully to get his back going again, get him to in big situations and hit guys home, which is what he is paid to do, that would be a big surprise for this Nationals team moving forward. And then obviously Dominic Smith, it felt like that was his big first hit of the year, scoring 2 runs on that single. And finally, it just broke loose. We felt like the scrappy Nats were back. And then, of course, the 9th inning, Jorge Soler came up to the plate, and he did it again. That is why you do not pitch to Jorge Soler in any sort of situation imaginable. I do not want to see that guy get a single strike tonight with Mackenzie Gore on the mound. Because that lefty-righty matchup, that is not an ideal one for a young left-handed pitcher like Mackenzie Gore. So Nationals fans and Mackenzie Gore, if you're listening, that'd be really cool. Don't pitch to Jorge Soler ever again. So now I'm going to get into the one positive also from last night, but it really has translated so far in the 2023 season as a whole. I'm going to tell you exactly what that positive is and if this guy can really be a difference maker down the road, not just in 2023, but beyond this season. I'm going to tell you guys about that. But before we get into that, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at Sorare. And guys, I've told you about Sorare before. It's so cool having a partnership with guys like Fernando Tati or Julio Rodriguez and Juan Soto. Sorare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against a global opponent to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. As we said, Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez are partnered with Sorare, and that is a pretty cool community that Sorare has built on their own. Head to Sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's Sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. And now we get into the positive. As I've been really noticing this one particular player who has been very good. And honestly, looking at all the stats and considering everything that has gone on with this Nationals team, this guy has been the best hitter by far and away in 2023 for the Washington Nationals, and that is Mr. Lane Thomas himself. I've talked about over the years how Lane Thomas has notoriously gotten off to really slow starts down in really every level at the major league level and minor leagues as well. But like, for example, in 2022, Lane Thomas, to start off the year in the first half, he had a 652 OPS last year. A 652 OPS while finishing with a 764 OPS in the second half of the season. His 2021 numbers are also that bad as well, considering the first half of the season. But Lane Thomas so far in 2023, you got to give a hat tip to him. People aren't really talking enough, including myself, about Lane Thomas and that Lane train. Lane Thomas so far in the month of May has been on an absolute tear so far. And this Nationals team needs that. We need this sort of production from Lane Thomas or from really anyone who is willing to provide it. Because in May, in 60 at-bats, Lane Thomas has 5 home runs and 19 RBIs. He's batting .317 with a .359 on-base percentage, a .633 slugging. That is a .993 OPS in the month of May. And also, his advanced analytics are also proving that Lane Thomas is someone not only who can get it done at the bat, at the plate, he is getting it done in the field as well. You've seen a couple outfield assists from him this year as well, and I haven't really done a deep dive into the analytics on his defensive numbers. But I've started to notice Lane Thomas has himself an arm. And I checked that today. He sits in the 91st percentile for arm strength across Major League Baseball. He is in the top 10% in Major League Baseball as far as arm strength goes. Victor Robles is up there as well, as he's on the IL right now, but once he makes his return, you'll certainly see that big arm of his. Lane Thomas has been holding it down in right field for this Nationals team. And really, the Nationals have always kind of played a strong defensive right field over the years. Rather than Juan Soto out there last year, that was not a good performance of defensive at all. But Lane Thomas is someone who not only plays solid defense, not only is he a relatively above average hitter in general, he also is a guy who should be a stolen base threat, as he sits in the 94th percentile for max sprint speed. Lane Thomas is someone that the Nationals should be really considering going forward. Is this guy real? Is this guy legit? Is he someone that can help our next postseason team, which is all I care about, really? And I'm here to say, you have to start considering the fact that Lane Thomas could be that guy. And not only could be that guy, but he might be him. Because Lane Thomas, as we've seen over the years, once the summer comes around, that's when his bat heats up. That's when everything seems to start clicking. But I also think what's different this year is that he's got a full year with Darnell Coles under the realm with that hitting coach spot. Darnell has done a pretty good job with Lane Thomas as they've both talked highly about each other. And Darnell, while a lot of people, including myself, would look at the power metrics of this team and say, what's going on there? But he can't make chicken you-know-what out of you-know-what. You know that alliteration there. I'm not going to say it. But Darnell Coles has been helping these guys kind of transform their approach at the plate with not only Lane Thomas, but guys like Luis Garcia, whose chase rates are out of this world right now. Luis Garcia, while his numbers may not there and be proven that he is a legit MLB player, the advanced analytics and the metrics on him in the years past that have been against him are now in favor of Garcia and his approach at the plate. So same with Lane Thomas. While he doesn't have the max exit velo of an Aaron Judge or a Mike Trout, of all these superstars, he's not a superstar. But at the end of the day, he could be a role player. He could be a 7, 8, 9 hitter playing right field on a postseason team. Especially the fact that you consider on this Nationals team, he's been our best hitter this year. It really hasn't even been close. And yes, this hot start in May has definitely helped him. But that is the encouraging part of this, because in 2 seasons so far in the big leagues with the Nationals, we've seen slow starts in the first half. Slow starts in the first half, a fast, rampant start in that second half of the season. I can't explain why, but obviously the summer heat helps the ball travel a little bit more, as we've seen it with his slugging numbers. But now, in the first half of the season, Lane Thomas has been kind of turning this corner to where it was an unprecedented feeling going into this year. I thought Lane Thomas was just going to be a filler until you get James Wood, Robert Hassel, Elijah Green, all these guys up in the major leagues. But Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez and the staff are going to have something to consider down the line. Because do you remember who we traded away Lane Thomas for? John Lester back in 2021, someone who was awful for the Nationals. He gave the middle finger to the fans. Middle finger to the fans on his way out. Literally. Look it up. Lane Thomas has been an unsung hero for this Nationals team. And what I like about this the most, he comes from the St. Louis Cardinals organization. That's an organization that doesn't really miss on their prospects. A 4th-round pick out of high school, signed to an above-slot value. There were some expectations for Lane Thomas amongst Cardinals fans. A lot of people liked what his hit tool was. And as I've said, he kind of reminds me of an Alex Cole type of player. Someone who doesn't have a strength at anything in particular. He's just good at everything. He's got an above-average speed, a way above-average speed. He's a solid defender. He's got a solid bat. He can hit for power and really surprise you at times and drive runners home, as he's done this year. So Lane Thomas is kind of someone that we forget about. And excuse me, I'm still battling this cold. But he's someone that we really do forget about down the line. And honestly, we shouldn't really be considering that. Because Lane Thomas is here to stay in my mind. I think this is someone who could be your starting right fielder on the next postseason team. And at some point, we also have to consider the fact that the players are developing at the major league level, which hasn't really happened before with this Nationals team. You've seen guys have rampant development like a Trey Turner, who his OPS was down a little earlier in his career, and then you see his slugging numbers. All of a sudden, he has a ton of power back in his swing. You've seen that with Trey Turner, or guys like Juan Soto, who Juan Soto was good from the get-go. But you've seen it. This Nationals team, it's no secret. They haven't been able to develop guys at the major league level. And so far, in 2 years with this Lane Thomas experience, he has been developed. He's getting better. And he seems to only getting more power as well. As the back drive in his swing is really just kind of something that I look at and see the power of it. He's got some pop on his bat. 5 home runs this year in May. It's starting to turn and click for Lane Thomas and the Lane train out there. So you better believe I am on the Lane train. I am the conductor of the Lane train, I must say. So thank you guys for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. The Nats play the Marlins tonight at 6 40 with Mackenzie Gore on the bump. Let's get a win. Don't pitch to Jorge Soler. And the Nats hometown broadcast is with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Nationals. Before we get into previewing tonight's start for Mackenzie Gore, I got to tell you guys about our new friends over at Birddogs. And guys, Birddogs just sent me a couple shorts the other day, and I cannot tell you how comfortable the fabric is and everything that comes with it. I got tree trunks for legs. Trust me when I say so. Birddogs is what you need for comfort. Their stretchy fabric makes my legs look great, and they're comfier than my other shorts and pants. They give me the freedom to wear one pair of shorts and pants on the golf course, to a meeting, a date, or hanging out with friends. That is flexibility, just like Lane Thomas provides. Bert Kreischer wakes up at his lake house wearing Birddogs, goes for a swim, smokes a cigar, grills burgers, and chills with his family, all in the shorts that he associates with the summer. Birddogs. Birddogs is that guy for me as well. I get my pants, and also part of my take, the PFT famously wears Birddogs, and only shorts he truly loves are Birddogs. And I saw him the other day. He was wearing his Birddogs. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB, and when you enter promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Again, birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, and they'll throw in a free custom Yeti style tumbler with every order that you have. And now we get back into the Washington Nationals as they get ready to take on the Miami Marlins tonight. And of course, with that comes is Mackenzie Gore. As last time around, it wasn't his best start, but it wasn't his worst start as well. But we've talked about the issues that Mackenzie Gore has at times with this Nationals team. And what is that, I may ask? Yes, it is his command. We've seen it time and time again with Mackenzie Gore, to where if this guy were to be able to just control his pitches and really hit the zone and pound the strike zone, that is when you'll start to see a much better and improved version of Mackenzie Gore. Because we talked about it with him. He's our ace, in my mind. Even over a Josiah Gray, who, by the way, was excellent last night. Mackenzie Gore is still that guy for the Washington Nationals in my mind. I look at Mackenzie Gore, and he reminds me of a much better version of a Patrick Corbin. And I know a lot of people may say, well, I mean, there's only better versions of Patrick Corbins out there. I'm talking 2019 Patrick Corbin, 2018 Patrick Corbin, a Cy Young candidate, that guy. I think Mackenzie Gore so far this season, you haven't even seen the best of what he can do. Because in 41 innings pitched, he's got 51 strikeouts. He's got a 1.46 whip. And that whip is a little bit higher because of the walks that he has generated so far in 2023, as that has been his main issue. And we continue to harp on that because that is what gets his runs up, everything up, and his pitch count in particular, as we saw it skyrocket the other day, as he had 30-plus pitches in that first inning. So Mackenzie Gore is going to have to locate the strike zone. And when he does locate that strike zone, he's going to have to be pinpoint accurate, especially against this Marlins team. You got Luis Arraez. You have Jorge Soler. God, I hate Jorge Soler, and I'm so afraid of him. You have those guys who are going to do damage in this matchup. But that's okay. That is okay. You can pitch around those guys. Remember? You can intentionally walk guys like Jorge Soler. Please intentionally walk him. But when you have appearances like Mackenzie Gore walking 21 guys over 41 innings this year, that is when the problems come to play. Because, yes, the batting average is a little bit higher on Mackenzie Gore, sitting at 252. But also, there's not a lot of damage in that, only yielding 4 home runs in 41 innings pitched for him. So Mackenzie Gore, it's simple. The game plan is simple as it is every day for him. Hit your spots. Don't walk as many guys. Keep that pitch count low. You will see him going much deeper in games if he can keep that pitch count low. Because only 41 innings pitched in 8 starts this year. Some people may say, I would expect a little more from that. But it's because of walking guys. and extending counts. How many times have you seen a 3-1 count with Mackenzie Gore out there? Too many times to count. There's been a lot of it. But at this point in his career, at 24 years old, this is kind of the expectation of what you think this guy will do. It's going to click for him just like it has with Josiah Gray down the line. There is no worries when it comes to Gore and what he can do for this Nationals team. So again, thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every day. Tomorrow, it's going to be a short show. Well, not a short show. It's going to be a short day because the Nationals play at 1 o'clock tomorrow against the Miami Marlins. So we're going to talk about that game. We're going to break down tonight's game on tomorrow's show. And hopefully, Mackenzie Gore throws a gem piece tonight. Again, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.